And to help us unpack this crisis, we are joined today by Mr. Hany ElGmal, a Cairo-based researcher specializing in regional and international affairs. Thank you, sir, for joining me today here at Special Coverage. Mr. Hany, what strategic calculus do you think drove France, long cautious on this file, to set a UNGA date for recognition, as they're claiming it's supposed to be happening in September 2025 in the General Assembly?
Greetings to you, Ms. Salma, and to your audience. I think what Israel came from carnages against Palestinians is the thing that rushed the international compass to back Palestinian cause. The lies about Palestinians after the 7th of October, there was a military machine against innocent people and Palestinians. France was always writing in their press agencies after the narratives of the giving information that rushed the press agencies to recognize France. What Israel did, from preventing UNRWA and preventing aid access, witnessed by Macron, President Macron, during his visit here in Arish, a visit here in Egypt, and he saw many civilian French organizations involved in the aid, and also visited some hospitals in Arish, put the stones to step up the discussions. This vision and this witness was also the same that happened with Guterres and his prevent from entering Gaza, and Israel threatened these figures. They don't feel unsecure to send them with the aid in Gaza.
Mr. Hany, Canada and Malta have now joined, and Portugal is consulting parties, and the UK signals it may follow. Do you think we're witnessing a tipping point inside the G7 EU bloc?
I think the presence of more European countries and Australia in this path confirms that this is a pressure card on the US administration, first of all, to have a relief for the systematic famine against the Palestinians until it reached the 5th and the 6th phase of famine severity. Second, Israel has to respect legislatives, especially Oslo Agreement that reiterated the establishment of Palestinians on the borders of 1976 with the East Jerusalem as its capital for Palestinians. This shift coordinates with the British stance that confirms its very closeness to join this path in regards to, in addition to the threats by the German foreign minister calling upon Israel, unless there is a threat enhancement, there will be joining in recognizing Palestine.
And sir, do you think Israel labels now the recognitions as being premature? Do you think that Tel Aviv's backlash can even have more capitals maybe to act more in solidarity? Do you think this could actually happen?
Maybe Tel Aviv has two important paths. First of all, unless it has to coordinate with the international community to allow humanitarian aid access, or explosion, because Israel, until in regards to Hamas latest response, it didn't convinced. It wasn't convinced unless there is. And said unless there is positive response from Hamas, they will expand their military operations again, and they have to maintain the explosion. They may occur inside Palestinians in front of in fronting Palestinians. Meaning that inside Israel is actually flaming, whether from the different parties or from the hostages' families. They started to protest, to pressure on the government to accept any truce and stop the killings, even in the protests and some left extremist parties, universities were against these operations. But we have they may recall on Netanyahu if there are some divisions against him.
Okay, Mr. Hany, how, in your opinion, if you can share with us and tell us, how is Washington reacting, do you think? Especially as the humanitarian images are dominating the US media at the moment.
I think what the US did from sending Witkoff to stand what is happening in the aid, it's just a show, because the US knows from satellite and their own eyes inside Gaza Strip or even inside Israel, there is a systematic famine made by Israel, in addition to the suspected GHF led to the killing of more than 1,000 martyrs, in addition to forcibly displaced Palestinians, and through some aid points targeting aid seekers. And I think Israel investigated widely and accusing the use of violence against aid seekers in order not to have in order to pressure Hamas to approve Witkoff agreement, and through which they can flow the aid. This is what Hamas sees currently is not the best. Hamas until now pens its stance unless there is a great flow of humanitarian aid and there is a safeguard that Israel will not weaponize the starvation during the upcoming negotiations.
Mr. Hany, can you think, in your opinion, recognition alone unlock the aid corridors, or must it be maybe paired with robust protection forces on the ground?
There is more than one solution. First of all, they have to open the 6 corridors surrounding Israel in order to allow the flow of humanitarian aid access to Palestinians, and also to have humanitarian corridors overseen by the UN and the World Nutrition Program and UNRWA, which is the most involving and experienced in this field, in order to ensure the humanitarian aid to those who deserve, not to Hamas. And this is something important. And also to have the autonomy consisting of Palestinians, and have to have a transit and in turn transmission in Palestine, in Gaza Strip, and which will allow the relief of some of the burdens Palestinians are feeling. Also allowing some countries, whether Europe or US or any peacemaker country, try to engage them to lift the burden and to limit the military operations, Israeli military operations. But now, until now, Israelis armies are focused in some parts of Gaza, about 60%, in addition to extending settlements and also in addition to isolation sites, which will be an obstacle. Israel may allow the establishment of Palestinian, but not on the borders of 1967, and also then the current situation Israel is doing by pressuring more or pressuring on negotiations or Palestinians, I think will explode
Mr. Hany,
the situation.
Let me ask you now and move on to domestically. Do you think these recognitions shift the European public opinion enough maybe to influence the arms export licenses to Israel?
I think it's a very important point, because I think in these days they have to renew the trade agreement between European Union and Israel, and defend based on the second article. If the European Union felt that Israel violating human rights, it has the right to end this agreement. The other part is that there is some countries like Slovakia pended weapons agreements and providing Israel with the weapons. And another part is that there are some European countries rejected any imports or from Israeli settlements, which is one of the economic besiege, in addition to the election blockade, which confirmed that they are reviewing their policies against Israel, and they may put their articles unnegotiable with them. It means that there is a kind of international isolation made on Israel, or the US and the US interests from another part. This is why we say the economic file is the magical solution to to some of the issues. This is why if the economic file pressure was, if it was experienced against Israel for a longer time, then we wouldn't have reached that level, or to have a real horizon for two-state solution, especially that there is a public international increase in recognizing Palestine to turn it to a real member in the UN. And I think this will be a crisis to the US system that vetoed any decision condemning Israel. I think these practices may put Israel and US in a kind of political isolation, affecting their existence. And I think the US would wanted to pass some some decisions in this regard.
Okay. Sir, do you think maybe might recognition moves, do you think, maybe give the International Criminal Court additional impetus, or maybe cover to accelerate more the war crimes probes, do you think?
I think what Israel did from what the court did by issuing 2 resolutions to stop Netanyahu, I think building on it will be very important to document many crimes against humanity and against Netanyahu, whether military and even against his personnel or settlers who held weapons against innocent Palestinians. There is documents in this regard, not only through witnesses, but also through videos and pictures, and in addition to annexing and expanding settlements, even though the Knesset who gave the green light to Israel to annex settlements, this confirms their systematic plan to eliminate Palestinian state. This is why this is what was condemned in the court. The World Criminal Court, condemning Netanyahu and Israel of violating human rights.
And that was Mr. Hany ElGmal. Thank you so much, sir, for shedding light on the human toll of this catastrophe and the fragile path forward.